with this workshop, my intention is to remind us some basics, because when I was preparing for the workshop, I realized that it's such a vast subject. So we definitely not won't be able to cover everything what is related to hormones. And I've watched many webinars and read books, and even those who are specialists in endocrine system, they still like can't explain all the things. It's very, very complex. But my intention for tonight is to actually give us, bring more awareness to this subject, to this important part of our life and of our being, and share with you some simple daily practices and tips that we can implement in our daily life that can help us to keep this balance. And if you have any questions throughout this meeting, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions, because it's always wonderful to be to have interactive discussion. There is a question in the chat if it started. Can anyone hear me? Or I'm talking to myself. Okay. Anna, maybe you try to sign in once again, and if not, there will be recording. Usually we post these webinars on YouTube. So if there are any issues with connection or sound, you'll be able to watch this. Okay, so I will start sharing the presentation which I've prepared. Okay, wonderful. So as you might have seen in the event description, for tonight I've chosen to cover just few parts of this very vast topic. And I want to warn you that you might even have more questions at the end of this webinar than answers, but this is also part of this part of the plan, is to bring our awareness to this aspect of our life and start doing our own research and make changes. So it's very introductory, and I hope nevertheless it will be very practical and useful. So we will speak about two types of hormones, which are female sex hormones and stress hormones. We will briefly also touch what happens to our hormones during the menstrual cycle and the different phases, the importance of living in harmony with nature, or in other words, biological clock or circadian cycle, which is very, very important to have and to also consider in our life. And we'll speak more why it's so important. And the last is actually the lifestyle tips and daily attitudes. Just a second. Okay, so before we dive into the more details of this topic, I would like you to look at this long, but even not a fully exhaustive list of symptoms of hormonal imbalance, and notice if you have any of these states either right now in this period or sometime from time to time, because again, we are, especially women, we're very receptive to any changes in our environment, changes to the lunar cycle, so it might be on and off. So I'll just name a few, but as I said, you can look at the screen and notice if you have any of these. Very often, one of the most common symptoms of the hormonal imbalance is tiredness or fatigue, low energy, generally our vital energy, and also sexual drive. So when we don't have energy, we also don't feel like making love or feeling attracted to anyone. It also affects our skin and hair. We can lose a significant amount of hair, or it just looks lifeless and not so lush. Our skin can be hyperpigmented or dry, or like other symptoms of skin irritation or conditions. Another very popular symptom, and this is how you can realize that we have hormonal imbalance, is related to our period, either heavy or irregular. It can be pain, it can be bleeding between the actual menstruation, or we missing period, and so on, any kind of irregularities. Digestive problems, all kind of digestive problems as constipation or diarrhea, bloating, indigestion, lots of things. Related to the fatigue is the decreased or increased heart rate. So when we even do simple activities, it makes us heart beat faster or even slower. And also related to emotional state, of course, it can be also very affecting very strongly. We can have depression, and it doesn't have to be like really bad clinical depression, even to the point that we don't feel in our skin, we don't feel satisfied with anything or feeling stuck. It can be anxiety or irritability. And these are quite common symptoms of premenstrual syndrome, again, related to the menstruation. Yes, I do hope that most of us, we don't have many of these symptoms. But if you do, or when you do, it's good to notice this. And also, what is important, not to neglect them and not to look for superficial solution, because nowadays we try to cover these symptoms, take a pill or do something, I don't know, use a different shampoo. But if the problem is inside, we need to look deeper and look at the root cause of all these symptoms. So now let's look at actual endocrine system at glands which create hormones. And we're not going to go deep into anatomy. We don't have time for this, and I'm not an expert. But what I keep hearing for the experts, that it's a very, very complex system. And what is important, that our body, and not even physical body, our whole being is one. Nothing exists in isolation. So if, for example, we have high or low estrogen, it doesn't live, so to say, in isolation from everything what we do or think. Or if, for example, we skip a meal or we go late to bed, it affects everything. It affects everything because, as I said, everything is interconnected. And when we even in modern medicine, they try to give us a pill, hormonal, what they're called, like substitutes. You know, if we don't have enough estrogen, they give us chemical estrogen, but it creates even more imbalance in our system because if body can't balance hormones naturally, it will overcompensate in another part of the body. So all I want you to contemplate about is that whatever we do, whatever we think and feel affects our entire body, including hormones. And also, I heard from one of the teachers I learned that hormones are actually our messengers, like our entire body. So if something is out of balance, then we don't need to fix this problem because, again, it will be very topical and superficial. What we need to do is to listen to the message. Why is it out of balance? Why we have hormonal imbalance? And to try to fix, again, those root causes. Any questions so far? Yes, Juliana, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, sorry, I was late, but I'm very interested in the topic because I've got a low thyroid condition for many years. I take medicine, and last summer I traveled and I just forgot for a few days, and I got really nervous in a way. But sometimes I try and not to have the medicine just to see if I can listen to my body a bit more. I don't know if that's what you're talking. I really wanted to reduce it or to get out of it naturally, but I don't know if that's possible for me. Like I know I've got to believe it's possible, but what can I do in practice? I don't know as well.
Yes, these are all very valid and important questions to ask because when we go to general practitioner, I don't know which country you live in. I live in the UK. They what they suggest is to take hormonal supplements. That's all. And when they told me, I said, like, thank you, no, I'm gonna look for natural solutions, as you said, and later we will speak about. There are herbal supplements and different remedies, aromatherapy, and many other things which can help our body to rebalance naturally. But of course, if someone has serious condition, it's very important to get different opinions, like second opinion, third opinion, because and also listen to our body, listen to our intuition. Again, at the end, I will recommend some books which help me a lot, and start taking control, taking power back, and actually, don't allow our medical system to tell us what we should do, because all the wisdom, all the knowledge is already within us, and it might usually it takes some self-discipline, sacrifices of the past habits, the ones which we caused this condition in the first place. Yes.
And I've got a major problem with sleepy at the moment. I'm not happy with I keep having a nap since the lockdown because I work from home a lot of the time, and it's not as if the medicine doesn't do everything anyway. Like I feel like I understand what you mean. Like if I've got good positive habits, might be more helpful than the medicine in many ways. Yeah.
What I'm sharing with you is my personal opinion. As I said, I'm not a medical expert. I'm a woman like you, and this is what we do in Venus. We
Mm.
share from our own experience what helped us and what we inspire to feel with other women. Yes, and you can agree or take what you agree with. Other things might not work for you, but it's just to share some food for thought and hopefully inspire you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah. But once again, I want to say that if there are any uh, serious conditions, it's always like, for example, abnormal bleeding, yes, which I know some women have. It's always good to go to the doctor, do the test, do scans, whatever needs to be done to understand what the problem is. But then you can go and look for alternative healing methods, but at least you know what exactly out of balance. Yeah. Okay. So uh, now let's look at what hormones we have. And there are many, many hormones. For today, I decided to focus on two groups of them. One is sex hormones and the stress hormones. And what happens? That, as I already mentioned, everything is connected. If like probably majority of us women especially, we get very stressed in our daily life, and the stress can be all kind of things, not only a situation like wars and disasters, like thank god at least I know those who are here we're not affected of this, but even in our attitudes towards life, our own reactions, because very often stress can be self-induced. It's how we choose to react to situations in our life. And if we constantly live with even the mindset of the stress, it creates the stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. And then it puts our body in a state of fight and flight. And it means it sends a signal to our brain that this is not the time to procreate, so to say, to make love or to enjoy, because we need to survive. They put us in a state of survival. And what happens that our sex or like feminine hormones, they go out of balance, especially estrogen and progesterone. Uh, and both these groups of hormones, they're important because cortisol and adrenaline, they give us dynamism, they give us motivation, ability to be active in this life. But the problem is when they start dominating, when there is too much of these hormones. And as the even topic of this webinar suggests, it's about balance, how to have the right time and the right attitude uh, to create this healthy balance of these two groups of hormones. We're not going to go too much into medical side of these hormones. I'm sure some of you might know about what estrogen for and progesterone, and even testosterone, which is male sexual hormones. We also have it. And it's actually important to have a little amount of testosterone because this is exactly what gives us sexual drive, our libido. And in one of the books which I read, and I recommend you very much, these hormones they grouped into yin and yang. So sex hormones, they're yin, they're more about relaxation, supporting and nourishing the feminine side of the body. And stress hormones, they're more yang, more dynamic and active. And as you know from Eastern philosophy, it's important to have the balance of the two, and each of them have each other inside. So even sex hormones, which are yin, they have also, like a women, we have masculine hormones as well, which also needed. So then there are other.
Could I just ask? Sorry, could I just ask the main difference between cortisol and adrenaline, please?
So as far as I know, they're produced by different glands, and adrenaline is released in the moment. It's very like in spike. Its production doesn't last for long. For example, you do bungee jumping, yes, or something very intense, and then it rebalances. But with the cortisol, it's more long lasting, and it can go on and on and on for a long period of time. And this is exactly what causes the imbalance. So it's not a spike and then body rebalances, but cortisol is can be continuously released if we create situations for this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So in order to balance these yin and yang hormones, stress hormones and sex hormones, we also need other hormones which are called hormones of happiness. And there are many of them here, and also in social media you probably have seen. Usually 4 of them are mentioned is oxytocin, which is very extremely important for a woman. It's a love hormone, and it is exactly the hormone which helps a woman to relax. And activities which produce oxytocin, like cuddling, hugging, talking to another woman or friend, even sharing, expressing our feelings, they create oxytocin. And this is how we relax, because even we need to speak to each other, and it already makes us feel better. Playing with the dog or baby, breastfeeding, but if you're not breastfeeding, even touching our breasts. For example, breast massage can be a daily practice for even before going to bed. It will release the oxytocin and prepare us for healthy sleep and balance the stress of the day. Another hormone is serotonin, which helps with to balance our mood. Again, we'll speak about ways to produce this very important hormone, but some of them: staying in the sun, daylight, exercising, and other things. Dopamine is considered a masculine hormone because it's about reward. It's about achieving a task or completing what you set out to do. But it's also very important. Even feeling good about what we do. And endorphin, another hormone which is related to pain and stress relief. For example, if you have menstrual pains, you can use, for example, quality essential oils that will release endorphins and help you with to manage the pain. I also want to share with you very briefly about how hormones change during the menstrual cycle, and actually what we need to become aware of. Because women are very different from men. Men, they have their own cycle. It's a cycle of a day. So in the morning, they have a high release of testosterone. That's why they often have erection. and then they have peak of activity, and at the end of the day they're tired because their testosterone depleted, and then they need to rest and sleep, and in the morning they start again. So every day is the same cycle. But it's like with the sun, actually. The sun is rising, the sun is setting, and the next day the same. And women, we're like moon, and our cycle is much longer. It's 28 days. And the same happens as the moon grows bigger and declines. The same happens with our uh, body, with our hormones, and also even like physically with our menstruation. And that's why it's very important to take these things consideration, and for example, to be aware when it's time to be active and when it's time to uh, step back and allow ourselves to relax. And I know from my own experience that our society is not um, very friendly to women. You know, they don't appreciate that there are days when we can't be as active as 2 weeks ago, and we need to slow down. We need to listen to our body, and maybe just like do very little, or maybe not to socialize, yes, and go more inwards. So when it's period of the menstruation and like few days, what we know premenstrual syndrome, which is also result of hormonal imbalance. It's not really natural, but why it's happening? Because our body is communicating. Listen to me, slow down, take a time to rest. And if we continuously refuse to listen to our body, if we push through and forge through the pain and heavy bleeding, it leads eventually to more serious problems. So in this period, and I'm sure you know, in old traditions, women were allowed to take a rest, to go to a red tent and be either quiet or with other women who were supporting her. But nowadays, most of us, we don't live in such communities where we can rely on other people to help, and it's all on our shoulders. But it's still in our power to make those little changes which help us to create this space and time where we can be more quiet. For example, not to go running if you're enthusiastic runner, but maybe to do gentle yoga, very gentle, relaxing, and which will support us in this period rather than releasing this dopamine. Yes, in that period we need different hormones. And it's the opposite when we, in the follicular phase, as you can see in the chart, it's usually from day 5 till day 14, when most of our hormones, actually all of them, they keep growing. And during ovulation is the peak of all the hormones. And this is when we feel the most active. We have lots of energy. We feel confident that this is a good time to be active, to be social, to make presentations of your projects. But then after the ovulation, again, make these little changes that will allow to prepare your body for the next phase. And here the important part is not only what we do, but what we eat. It's also important. We don't have much time to speak about this now, but I will just say a few things. For example, about meat and dairy. They create heavy bleeding, even though I know they're rich in iron, uh, meat, but it actually promotes heavy bleeding, and it's better to avoid if you're not a vegetarian, but at least in the second part of the cycle to restrict this food and to eat vegetarian. Any questions so far? I know it's a very, very also vast and complex topic about menstrual cycle. But the message I want to share with you is the importance of listening to our body, and also learning about our cycle, learning about how our body works, and being more loving and caring towards ourselves throughout the cycle. Okay, so if no questions, then we move to the next slide. This is one of my favorite topics, which is a circadian cycle, or we can call it biological clock. And what it means that for not only thousands, but millions of years, our species of human being, we lived in harmony with nature. And nature has cycles like day and night, there are seasons. And in the old times, people lived in harmony with nature because there was no artificial light. There were no fridges and microwave ovens. And everything was very organic, in a way, natural and harmonious. And people felt one with nature. And now we very, very disconnected from the nature, which is everywhere. And even though we try to dominate her, I will call nature her because it's an expression of divine feminine and our own nature, our own essence. She's still very strong and powerful, like we spoke about lunar cycles, seasons, and also daily cycle. So because of these new habits, which most of us even like we were born in such a society where there are TVs, now internet, social media, Wi-Fi, and all kind of artificial things, which sometimes makes our life better, but they also often come at the price of our own health. If we are not lucid enough how to control their presence in our life. So circadian cycle, whether we're aware of it or not, it's still which guides and rules the entire creation, like ocean tides and sun rising and so on. And what happens that our body, being part of the nature, works also in harmony with this biological clock. And when we go against the biological clock, we create disturbances in our being because we're not in harmony, we're not in balance. And here I just want to share with you another slide representing circadian cycle, which shows that our body is wired. Let's start from the morning, the sunrise. When we wake up around sunrise, between 6 and 7 o'clock, all the hormones, all the body organs, they work exactly to wake up and also to purify our body. And if, for example, wake up later, then it's already different cycle and different hormones are active. And if we wake up at 8 o'clock, we become more tired if we wake up between 6 and 7, because the biological clock is wired to be like that. because at 8 o'clock it's time to have breakfast, to exercise, and be active. And the same with daily workout, lunch. Here I also want to mention one important lifestyle attitude. We will speak more about it. Is the evening program. I used to work till late nights, till 8 o'clock in the evening in the office, or even 9. And of course, when we come back home after a stressful day, we want to eat at 9 o'clock, I don't know, 10, and then going to bed late, checking Facebook and so on. And in the morning, we need to wake up for another day, and we're tired, and every day is the same. So it might sound like a big challenge to eat at 6 o'clock or have dinner between 6 and 7 in the evening and go to bed around 10. But this is what our body needs. And when we push ourselves, again, with all this modern lifestyle, it eventually drains us of our energy, it creates hormonal imbalance, and we have more problems and even health issues. We'll speak more about this, but I just wanted to say that according to circadian cycle, this is the time to have the last meal, to relax, and to prepare for early bed. And probably, in many traditions, there are even sayings that, I don't know what in English it is, but like to go to bed early and to wake up early, and then we will be healthy. Just one more slide to show that even our different organs, they're active at a different time. And again, if we eat late after 7 o'clock, then our body is not digesting the food properly, because it's time for a different organs. It works on elimination, and all the food which is not digested, it stays in our body. It strains our liver and then creates skin problems, intoxication, and again, many things. So we also need to be aware when it's good to eat, when it's good to rest, when it's good to be active, or to relax. Now I would like us to do an exercise. It can be very provoking because we will bring some awareness into our life. Because if we speak about hormonal balance, again, our endocrine system doesn't live in isolation from the rest of our life. And if we talk about hormonal balance, let's look at our life and whether our life is in balance. Because, for example, there are many people, and this is background from where I'm coming, again, referring to the very demanding corporate job in the office, when all I had was 12-14 hours of work. And all other aspects of my life were like not even existing. They were out of balance. So I didn't have energy to do anything else. And it's not ideal, and I'm not in that situation anymore. But it's still very good to see, to look at different parts, aspects of our life, and to first of all ask ourselves, what is our ideal? How much time we would like to spend, for example, on our self-expression? I don't know, dancing or painting or being with your friends. And do we have time, or your beloved? Do we have enough time and energy to do these things which we really love and which fulfill us and which make us feel good? Or we have to make money and provide for the family or like for ourselves, or maybe we have I don't know, very in traditional cultures, the influence of the family is quite significant, and maybe some of us can feel lost in these social responsibilities, and we spend more time with others rather than spending time with ourselves. So here are 5 areas of our life. Life purpose. And what exercise I would like you to do is to think what is important for you and whether you spend enough time and energy on what it represents for you. So the first one is life purpose. What it is that you want in your life, what makes you feel good and inspired. It's your growth, individual growth or spiritual growth, and whether you have time for it. Again, back to my example, when I worked in the office, I just didn't have any time for spirituality because it was draining all my energy. And but it was very important for me, and that's why I was able to make the shift to prioritize what was my life purpose. The second aspect of our life is love life, couple relationship or family and friends, whether we have enough of this or as much as we would like to have. Business life, like work and career and making money. Social life, and creative life, which also includes our health. Do we have time to invest in our health, in our well-being, into having pleasure, do something which makes us feel good? I don't know, having a massage or going for a walk in the park, or self-expression, which I mentioned already before. So let's have a couple of minutes just to, on the scale from 0 to 10, you can, you don't need to share it, but just for yourself, see where your current priority is and what would be your ideal life balance. Um, I suggest, if it provokes some contemplation and deep thoughts, you can come back to this exercise and spend some more time on that exercise. Now let's move to the practical tips and how we can bring more balance and harmony, not only into our hormones, but also our health and general well-being. And the advice is they're not specific to a certain hormone, as I said, like estrogen or serotonin. It's not topical because what I want to do is to have a higher overview of life, because if we have balanced life, all the rest will realign and everything will be in harmony and balance. Um, so the first one is very fundamental, and it's the base for our well-being and health. And this is healthy sleep routine. As already mentioned, that it's recommended to go to bed around 10 p.m. In line with the biological clock. It also allows us to lower the cortisol level, because if we're watching movie or watching news, they increase our cortisol level, which means our stress hormone, and then we can't relax properly and regenerate. So going to bed early helps us to have deeper sleep and regenerate before the next day. It's very recommended to prepare for the sleep. So dimmed light, having salt lamps or candles, if they're not toxic, or like fairy lights, something very pleasant and even romantic, where you will feel comfortable and feel relaxed. Also, since we're women and Venus is everything for women, also when you feel feminine, it can be, I already mentioned, breast massage or self massage, or warm bath with essential oils, and also to have well, I'm thinking so much, because what I'm gonna say is to switch off our phone, and I'm saying because I know it's very difficult, and but we even can put settings on our phone or iPad or computer as a bedtime, and after 8 o'clock, for example, or 9, we don't check our Facebook or Messenger and so on, and we can read a book or listen to the music or spend time with our beloved, and prepare for the sleep. I already also said about the importance of early dinner, and if we keep this daily program, it's if we eat not too close to the bed, so it gives time for the body to digest the food, but also not to get hungry, so we avoid unstable blood sugar level. So this is, and it also helps us to digest properly and the body to work on the next task it needs to do. And another very wonderful and practical advice is to sleep in the complete darkness. I couldn't find a picture for the slide to show sleeping in the complete darkness, but it's very important for the production of melatonin, which in the morning is transferred into serotonin, the hormone of happiness. So I know, for example, in some countries, they even prescribe synthetic artificial melatonin, while our body naturally can produce it. And when we dim the light, when it gets darker even outside, naturally, our body starts feeling sleepy. It's a signal to the brain that we need to relax and prepare for the sleep. But if we have a very bright street light, like for example where I live, body gets signals that it's still daytime and it can't go into deep phase of the sleep and regenerate properly. So there are special like dark forgot the word, like blinds, or special even screens to achieve the complete darkness. Another very important group of the practical tips is healthy eating habits. And um, because in order to produce hormones, our body needs certain nutrients, vitamins, and minerals. And if our body is depleted of those nutrients, it doesn't have enough of them to function properly. So that's why whole organic food is the best. And why organic and whole food is important, because if it's a highly processed food, um, very refined, it doesn't have all the right nutrients. And even if it's a whole food but not organic, it's sprayed with pesticides and yes, artificial fertilizers, which are chemicals, and they go into our body and actually creates more toxins and interfere with our hormones. Mm, we know that even food which is now organic is not the same as hundreds of years ago when the soil was rich of nutrients. Now most of our extensive farming is depleting the nutrients for the soil, and even if we eat the same carrot or tomato, its quality of it is very different. So sometimes even eating healthy food is not enough to get all the nutrients. That's why it's very good to take superfoods, which are very rich in certain elements and nutritions, like maca powder, certain type of berries, raw chocolate. Raw chocolate also, but not cheap chocolate, for example. It releases happiness hormone, which it's very recommended for women actually. Raw chocolate without bad sugar. Coconut oil, flax, and chia seeds, and there are many others. These are just some of them. But you can do your own research and find those, like seaweed also is wonderful, which supplement your diet. And even if this is not enough, it's recommended to take natural or herbal supplements. In Ayurveda, they use many wonderful herbs to restore the health of the body and also support us during this stressful period, which probably our entire life. So it's very good to find a good naturopath or Ayurvedic doctor who can prescribe exactly which herbs are good for your type in this period of life. And Juliana, back to your question, this is how you can rebalance your hormones, your health, and it's absolutely possible with with the right knowledge, with the right support, and discipline, because we need to take this plans regularly. It's possible. Another thing related to food is very important to have a stable blood sugar level, because, for example, if we skip a meal, especially breakfast, if we have breakfast late or don't have it at all, or we skip lunch, then it creates very high peaks in the blood sugar level, and it releases again cortisol, which is extremely stressful situation for the body, because it feels like it's starving. It's like not even starving, but it's about blood sugar level. And in one of the book, which I'll recommend you later, for example, if women have a fluctuation or low blood sugar level, they become extremely sensitive, and it's almost impossible to communicate with them because they will be overreacting or complaining. Everything like won't be right, just because they're hungry. So we need to make sure we eat regularly, eat the right food, even healthy snacks, but not to push ourselves to the limit when we like really overwhelmed and everything puts us on fire. Um, there is a question about intermittent fasting. Yes, it is very good. It's very good. But it shouldn't become our daily habit, you know. So if it's once a week or even twice a week, it's wonderful. But if every day we skip our breakfast or we eat irregularly, this is what is the problem. This is what creates the um, hormonal imbalance. But intermittent fasting is very good because this gives our body opportunity to purify and detoxify. Okay, so we have some more information. We're supposed to finish now, so I will try to go through the slides quickly. But if you need to leave, please feel free to do so, and the recording will be available. We will post it on our YouTube channel. So yes, like the last 2 points on this slide is about proper hydration. Because if our body is dehydrated, I was given this analogy, or like I had this revelation just recently. We're like fading flower. We're women. I often see women as flowers. But if we don't have enough water, like on a hot day or like in the garden, which is not looked after, we're still flowers, but not really blossoming, not in our full power. So we need water. And more than water, we need love, we need many things, but water is one of the ingredients. And it's very good to drink in the morning with lemon and also have sip throughout the day, depending on your constitution. For some people, it can be hot or warm water. For example, for those who are Vata, or like room temperature. Cold water is not recommended for most of the people. And also not drinking before food, but I guess you know. And the last thing here is to avoid plastic, or I know it's really almost impossible not to have food from plastic, but plastic is everywhere. But the problem is that plastic and water from plastic bottles includes xenoestrogens, which is synthetic estrogen, which is replacing or like competing or interfering with our natural estrogen and creates lots of hormonal imbalance. And the same with cookware, for example, Teflon and some other, so to say, modern technologies, which are convenient, but they're not good for health. So it's better to use glass or stainless steel or cast iron cookware and containers not to contaminate our food and our body with these elements. Very quickly, how we can also balance our hormones, especially our stress hormones, is by managing the stress. And this helps when we become aware of our own state. If we feel that we're getting on fire, like very intense emotions, it's important to notice them and to take a moment to relax, to breathe deeply, to calm down ourselves if it's happening in the moment. Also, it helps to sometimes to take a position of the witness, of the observer, what's happening, and like taking ourselves from that intensity of the moment and becoming relaxed. And of course, meditation, yoga, regular exercise, and aromatherapy helps. Um, one thing that also can help is journaling, is becoming aware of our emotions, our feelings, and also noticing our predominant thoughts. For example, if we think negatively, or if we live in a constant state of fear or anxiety about relationships or money or health, it constantly produces these stress hormones. And what is important is to become aware of these predominant thoughts and beliefs, and to replace them with positive. To know that life is abundant, that we are loved, that we're enough, and this will help. Using these affirmations will help us to relax and have more trust in ourselves and in life, and to be more balanced and happy. We already spoke about the importance of the spending time outside in a daily daylight. For example, if we spend lots of time in the office, and or even not the office, I work from home, but I spend lots of time in front of the computer. So I made it almost. I just promised myself that I go out at least for half an hour in the wood outside, and I will treat myself with a walk in the nature, because it's very important for all of us. And also, uh, uh, being exposed to the sunshine, to the daylight, is very important because it stimulates serotonin and many other things like vitamin D and so on. So if you're busy, try to find time even for a short walk outside, not just rushing from home to work or shopping, but really enjoying and connecting with the nature. And I think it's, yeah, the last slide, which is also very important, is to have love and harmonious relationship, because this is very important for our well-being and hormonal balance. And there are many books we can learn, and there are courses about couple relationships and how to find harmony in the couple relationship despite the differences between men and women, and how we can also better understand ourselves and notice when we're not really in the heart. So it's good to strive to bring more harmony and love into our life, um, in relationship, but also in relationship with ourselves. So take care of our needs, because very often we overcompensate and try to either look after others like too much, to the point that losing ourselves, or we expect it from our lovers or friends that they will do it for us. But actually it's us who need to do it, and yes, make ourselves a priority, because when we are fulfilled, when we feel good with ourselves, then we can give to others, and our love becomes unconditional, and we feel good with ourselves, with others, and it creates also hormonal balance. And of course, love making is a wonderful way to harmonize to balance the hormones. And even cuddling and hugging and massage, being physical, is also very, very healing. And the last slide, as I promised, here is the list of some books which I found very, very inspiring, and I learned a lot from them. You can make a print screen, or yeah, um, write them down. They are all wonderful, very accessible. The first three, they like mostly about hormones, while the last one, women's bodies, women's wisdom, is about general women's health and how important it is to know our body and to connect with our inner wisdom. Yes. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'm happy to answer them. If not,
just just to say thank you, because it's really good. I feel like I've not got any questions at the moment. I just took several notes for the life balance as you're talking as well. Just nice suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. The replay will be the recording will be shared on your YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, you can write them to Venus, where you registered. I would like to make a continuation of this topic. When the time comes, because it's very important, and it's always good to keep this in our awareness. So I'm wishing you a wonderful evening, and also wish you to take care of yourself. See which part of your life needs more love and care, and also your heart, your whole being. And I wish you to have harmony and balance in all aspects of your life.
Thank you so much, Olya. It was a very beautiful session. Thank you. It was amazing. Olya, I just have a question. Sorry, at the end, I just wanted to ask you, from these books, which one will you recommend the most from these 4 books?
It depends on your situation, because the first one is specifically about balance, about hormonal balance. It's more medical. The next two, Mars on Earth, Venus on Fire, it's about how the difference between how men and women cope with stress. So it's more about relationship perspective upon hormones, and why, for example, it's important to know the difference between men and women, so we don't judge each other, but rather can understand and also ask for support from each other. And the same Mars and Venus diet and exercise solution. So it's about difference between men and women. And women's bodies, women's wisdom, it's much broader and more extensive work on general women's health. Yeah, so it just depends. And there are chapters for different female imbalances, like related to yoni, breast, so with lots of useful information. And it's also very holistic. It gives overview of modern medicine up to alternative treatments, and also what we need to change in our mindset, our beliefs. So it gives very deep and wide perspective on our body and being.
Thank you, Olya. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So thank you so much once again for finding this time for yourself, and wishing you all the best and sending you lots of love.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Take care. All the best.